Dear friends, welcome to the Health Seeker, a special episode of our program because we want to tell you about a research that has brought important results on the effectiveness of Life 120 lifestyle. And with us we have science popularizer Adriano Panzironi. Welcome, Mr. Panzironi.
Thank you and welcome to our viewers.
Let's talk about this research right away.
Let's say that I decided to carry out this scientific study to prove the effectiveness of the Life 120 lifestyle after all the criticism I have received over the years, where precisely the critics were saying and stating that it is not possible to heal with a proper lifestyle. This longitudinal observational research actually proves that.
Here you decided then to do this study, and you have locked it up here in the book Living to 120 The Healings, a book written for hands with journalist Francesco Gianotti. And yet I want to ask you right away one very important thing. This title, The Healings, this is a word that really caused you a lot of criticism, a controversial word.
You're right, because actually this book was initially supposed to be called The Testimonies, but then I decided before going to print to call it The Healings, because actually the results that we got with this observational study makes us understand that really these are healings. So it's important, in my opinion, to call a spade and not to be afraid, instead of just making claims so that you won't be criticized.
Look, you mentioned that it is important to call this book The Healings. However, I think it is also important to understand what the healings mean to you.
Certainly the diseases that can hardly be called cured. If, for example, we take the case of cancer, obviously dogmatic medicine tells us that a person can be called cured to cancer only if after 5 years there are still no cancer cells present. In fact, for this reason, even in this study, we did not want to include this pathology, but in reality there are so many other pathologies that can be called cured, because upon discontinuation of those foods, which I consider to be real poisons, people become healthy again to such an extent that they no longer suffer from that pathology. So it is correct to call these problem resolutions as real healings that obviously and cause these pathologies. We'll be able to return to these diseases again, where the person returns to eating what are the typical dishes of the Mediterranean diet, such as bread, pasta, pizza, potatoes, rice, and legumes.
Look, let's talk about this court right away then. The court means that you have chosen 10 people. We can immediately see the first slide to see how this court is composed. 565 are women, 435 are men. What do you want to tell us? How were these 1,000 people selected?
These people are a good part. All the witnesses who over the years have come to the Health Seeker, to our program, and then last year I realized, actually at the turn of this year and last year, Panzironi come to dinner with us. It was this tour that I made all over Italy, where I met more than 5,000 people who follow the Life 120 lifestyle, and out of them we decided to include 1,000 people who suffer from at least 3 diseases.
Now, Mr. Panzironi, however, I would like to see slide 4. It is a very important slide because it shows us the quality of life, how it has changed to these 1,000 people with a rating from 1 to 10. So at the beginning, so before undertaking the Life 120 lifestyle, the average score was 4.4, which is a poor quality. After embarking on the Life 120 lifestyle, we reached a value of 9. So the quality has practically doubled the quality of life.
This is a very important figure because the quality of life essentially indicates how these people who undertook this lifestyle really improved their life and increased their serenity. So going from a more than poor result to an almost excellent result, I think, is one of the most important elements of this scientific study.
Now we are going to talk about sleep quality. We have talked about it a lot within the Health Seeker broadcast, and we noticed that from a 4.9 at the beginning, so before the Life 120 lifestyle, a mediocre quality, we get to a rating of 8.6, so much higher than the rating of good.
Another extraordinary finding, because we remember that the quality of sleep also reflects the quality of the circadian cycle. And we have explained very often how in people where there is an alteration of the circadian cycle, then a whole series of pathologies appear. So this is proof that by following a correct lifestyle, in this case the Life 120 lifestyle, actually you go back to sleeping better, you also go back to dreaming, and therefore this helps us to solve the pathologies from which we suffer.
However, Mr. Panzironi, these data are really resounding. What we have read and what we have obtained with this longitudinal observational research, but what should they teach this medicine that, as you call, dogmatic?
There is a different path of care that you cannot address people's pathology and health just by giving drugs. But let your patient know that proper nutrition is the first therapeutic weapon. Then if ever it is not enough, then you can also give drugs, but don't do the opposite. So really this observational and longitudinal study will teach these doctors that a different way is possible, an integrated way. That can really bring millions of Italians back to health. If we remember these percentages that I call almost Bulgarian, that is extraordinary results, and we wanted to represent them in the Italian population. We will have the 90% reduction of drugs in Italy, we will have the 90% reduction of the patient industry, and we will have 1 million healthier and longer lived people.
I want to mention that all these data that we have said, the records, the 1,000 records of our court, are within this book written forehands with our journalist Francesco Gianotti, obviously together with Adriano Panzironi. But I also want to say another very important thing, that all the data in our possession, the telephone records that have been made to carry out this longitudinal observational study, are obviously protected thanks to Life 120. So whoever wants can contact obviously the competent authorities and know obviously all the data. I thank you, Mr. Panzironi, for doing also this very important new work that I recommend obviously to everybody. I thank you. I thank those who followed us from home, and obviously see you soon with The Health Seeker. Thank you.